When we talk about emotional strategy, it can sound like something a little bit difficult, but really it's very simple and very useful. I mean, when you are in a situation where you find a kind of nervous state and you come this kind of situation and you want to feel uh, in a good inner state, you have two possibilities. One of them is to try to protect yourself, which is very correct and very useful. And the other one is to get in the same state of nervosity, but really it's not useful. So when someone tries to protect himself or herself, it's useful and it's not so difficult. I mean, you come in this situation and you know that your inner state is correct and is more or less peaceful, and you want to keep this state inside of yourself. At the same time, you have the possibility to transmit a kind of correct and helpful state, I mean peace for example. And for this you have to find a kind of emotional strategy or a kind of behavior that can be helpful for others. So in this situation you can try and you can really do this kind of operation. I mean, when you are in this situation and you find that the state of tension which can be in this situation comes from a person or another person, you have the possibility to make a kind of positive contact with this person. You can try to find a way of making the good and correct communication in order to try to help this person to feel more and more relaxed, and it comes from yourself. I mean, you have in the present way the intention for yourself to transmit and to help this person to feel a kind of peaceful state. So your way of talking to the person, the way of making the communication will have one objective. It is the objective of getting and going to a positive ambience, peaceful ambience. And it's very useful, and sometimes it's something that we can do every day in various situations. I mean, in your family, in your job, what comes during the day. And when we talk about emotional strategy, it's only the fact that when in a situation where there is nervosity or this kind of thing, you have, and it's really positive duty to protect yourself inside and to keep a positive state. So by doing this and by giving this kind of protection to yourself, at the same time you are transmitting a very good energy and a very good feeling to this situation. I mean, the other people will notice that you are not going and you're not putting yourself in the same state of nervosity or anxiety or this kind of thing. You are trying to keep quiet in a state, and this simple fact will transmit this energy to this situation. So the basic thing that you have to do and that you have to keep in your mind and in your intention is that when we talk about emotional strategy, it's something that more or less people know, but we have now to have it in a present way and to know that it's very helpful and very powerful to keep and to go through this situation in a good state and to maintain this good state. And at the same time, you are doing a good action. I mean, a correct and useful action. You are going to do something good for you, and at the same time, it's very positive for others. So the objective is to find a kind of good objective for everyone, for yourself and for others. And it's not so new, and it's not again so difficult to keep in your memory and in your inner state that this objective, I mean, everybody has this objective, but it's very more powerful when you have it in a present way. You are not thinking more or less, I'm not sure that I will be able to do it, maybe it's difficult, I don't have the possibility to do it, I'm not sure that I have enough confidence in myself to do it. Really, no, you have only to remind that it's possible first, and then you only have to do what you can do to make and to increase this kind of positive communication towards the situation and toward people. And again, when you hear about various things, various techniques that we can find in various books, or I don't know, people talking about positive or talking about this kind of thing, it can be really useful, but we have to remind and to keep clearly in our memory that when someone is trying to give and to transmit this kind of technique to people, one has to be very sure that he is very comfortable with this technique and is sure that he is doing it very correctly and he is in the correct state to transmit this technique. If not, you have the situation where you find people talking about various things. I mean, stress, positivity, different things that can be and should be helpful for people. But again, it can sound like a kind of business, a kind of way of finding a way of helping people, at the same time not being in the correct state and in the correct situation to be able to help people. So, for our part, when you talk about emotional strategy, we know really about what we are talking and what is the effect of this emotional strategy. I mean, it's not something new, it's something that we have seen, that we know it functions. So you have to remember that when we talk about this strategy and this way of transmitting positive energy and good elements for people, it's something that can and should be more or less used every day and in various situations. I mean, you, in your family, for example, or in your job, you know that you have an effect on people. And the point and the present point is to know and to feel what kind of effect you have and you are going to have towards people. And when one learns more and more what kind of effect he or she is going to have on people, it's useful and it's helpful to be more and more aware of this point. And when you are more and more aware of this point, you get a kind of a possibility to feel and to see what are you doing and what effects are you giving to a person or to a situation. And this point, we have to talk about this point again, because when you are again in a situation where you find, there is for example 5 persons, and you find that 2 persons are creating a kind of tension because of their inner state, maybe anxiety, maybe depression, maybe, I don't know, these kind of things. You know that toward these 2 persons, it's possible for you, as far as you can do it, in a comfortable way, you can, and it's possible to make a kind of good and correct communication with this person. Communication in the way that you are helping these people to help the ambience to be more and more positive. And it's not something, I mean, very difficult or very hard to do. It's more a question of intention and a question of subtle action. You don't have, for example, to talk a lot to this kind of person. You only have to make a kind of link, a kind of communication with this person, and to help them to get out of this state of anxiety, or this state of depression, or nervosity, this kind of thing. So when you have the intention of making this contact, you will notice that you are helping these people to make a little change in their way of being, and they will notice it in a manner. They will notice a kind of effect coming from you, and this subtle action, this communication, will be helpful for this person, and again it will be helpful for you, because it will be helpful for you to protect your state, your inner state, and to protect the positivity inside of yourself. At the same time, by this action of protecting yourself, you are transmitting to this person a possibility of feeling better and of helping you to give and to reach a more positive ambience. So, when we are talking and repeating the fact of emotional strategy, we are also talking about the fact that it's very useful to learn that emotions are emotions, sure, and one can learn more and more to use his own emotion to reach a positive objective. For example, you have a situation where there is a kind of tension, and you see or you feel that this tension is reaching you and getting closer and closer to you, and you have to know and to see how the way I'm going to act towards this effect, towards this situation. And when you notice this point, and when you have this point present in yourself, at this moment, you will know and you will feel that your action will be to transmit and to have and to get a kind of emotion or subtle emotion that you have seen and you have understood that is going to be useful and helpful. I mean, for example, showing a way of good communication, a way of transmitting friendship, for example. Even if you are not in a reactive state, I mean a state when you want to transmit this kind of friendship, you know inside of yourself, by your emotional strategy, that it's the best and it's the correct behavior to have. So by transmitting this friendship, you are doing a thing which is very useful and very helpful, and it has a lot to see with emotional strategy. I mean, you have a behavior that you have learned and that you know that will have a good effect and a useful effect towards the person and towards yourself. So we are trying to learn more and more clearly and in a useful way what kind of emotion, what kind of strategy that we can have to transmit good sensations, good emotions, kind of good energy to person, to situation, and at the same time a high level of protecting oneself, because obviously the best way to transmit and to keep a good ambience is basically to protect yourself inside and to keep a positive and correct state and peaceful state in yourself in order to be able to transmit it all around you.